It's a famous trailer from the Northumbrian Gallery 2 years ago. Here we are, just looking out into the workshop. It's a bit cramped in here, but this is my bike lift stroke storage unit, which I built myself. It comprises some channel along the ground with a vertical here and 4 pivoting legs, 1, 2 and of course 2 on the back, and there's a dirty great winch in the back there which you might just be able to see, which is connected to this 12 volt battery here, and a switch on the back of the panel here, and it can be used to raise and lower the bikes. I've had 4 bikes stored in this area, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom before. It's quite capable of lifting very heavy stuff. It's a pretty powerful winch. Anyway, at the moment, there you see my Humber 350 overhead, horrible exhaust. Don't ignore that. That was an experiment gone wrong. But there we see the progress. It looks a lot worse than it actually is because it's almost finished. I'm just waiting for parts back from powder coating and so on, and it's going to be assembled and checked out when I get an exhaust for it. And there we go, there's my workshop's divided into 3 areas, all of them untidy, which is probably my hallmark, I think. As you can see, shelves everywhere, all along the top, covered in all sorts of stuff. That along the back there's all Humber 350, overhead cam, overhead valve, and even a whole engine in the corner. If anyone's after a matchbox float, there's one in that box untouched. Speak to me later and you might be able to buy. Now then, we'll come through here. These are curtain doors, really good for in winter time. It kind of stops losing heat out of here, and they're just quite effective, you know. They separate the 3 areas. You don't get too much dust and muck from the dirty end of the workshop, which is up at the far end, travelling this far up. So here we go, and this here is the workshop area, which is, I think, what most people were wanting to see. It's very hard in here to get any decent shots of everything because it is very cramped. It's a good little machine actually. It's brilliant, in fact. It's equipped with 4th axis. That's this thing here. So it's more than just a milling machine. You can generate compound surfaces with it by holding them in here. This can rotate back and forth, and move this way, and this way, that way, and this head can move up and down. So you've got 4 axes. You've got Z, Y, X along the bed, and A, which is the centre line of the rotary table. So that's the machine there. Another thing with this machine is, I can't really show you it, but underneath here, in that big brass cover, or underneath that, is a lathe attachment, and it's quite good. There we go. There's a screen coming on. Oh, there's someone on a motorbike making a hell of a noise. The A34 isn't too far away from me, and then tells me there's some kind of fault, and then it comes on. You should say Tormac. I imported this from the States in about 2014, 15, and it cost a lot of money to get it into the country, but it's been worth its weight in gold to me. It really has. It's just so nice to use, very easy to use. It's quite a robust machine, and it does work well. So anyway, there we go. That's it on. This is the control. It's controlled by a PC, which is hidden away in the cupboard underneath, and we'll just reset it. And the first thing you ever do is you reference your and I'll have to be careful because this is very high and it can actually catch on that, so you want to reference the Z first as it goes up. Oh, I can't just do that quite yet. I need to reset that button. There we go, and then I can hit the Z. And there you see, it's pretty slow this. I need to investigate that. It should go faster than that when it's referencing. But that's Z, and that's clear of the rotary table X. And there you see the X. And let's click on the Y. And that's it referenced, so you can then move in the X direction, Y direction, etc. And A, which is the rotary table, and there you see it there. I had a lot of problems with this last time I used it, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and it turned out to be some bad contacts in this plug here. And it was so frustrating because I was trying to divide something, and it made a right balls of the job. But anyway, that's another story. And if you go into here, you can see the sort of things I've been doing. For instance, here we go, Humber magneto body. I think this is the foot. No, that's drill. Magneto sprocket, all ops. That's the one there. And if you look at this, you can see this shows you the tool path that the cutter makes. 6mm cutter, which is actually in there, and it's a 12 tooth sprocket. So there we go, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. It looks kind of odd because it doesn't look like a sprocket, but what you've got to remember is it's being cut with a 6mm tool, and this is it does actually cut a nice profile. In fact, I can probably show you the finished article because I've got one here. In fact, I've got two. There's one fitted to a magneto. What we're talking is the body. This part here is the body of this, and that's the sprocket there. So I'll show you what there is on that program. We can maybe run it. That's just the magneto sprocket. So there's 13 holes to be drilled in that. So if I take an isometric view of it on the screen, you will see here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 holes, and that's the program there that will drill those holes. I mean, I could show you it if I go down here, just say that I don't want to run it into the table or anything, and I want it to be well clear of that head there, so I'm going to say that X equals 0 here. This is reference point for everything. Y equals 0 here, and Z equals 0. Whoop, 0. Come on. 0, enter. And in theory, I'm just going to turn the coolant off because I don't want coolant flying all over the place. But in theory, I should be able to hit the start button and it should run. So we'll hit the start button, and there you see. Now I'm going to keep my hand on this. I can stop what I'm doing at any time on that. But there we go, and it's going to tell me insert T6 into the spindle. So I'm going to tell it that T6 is in, and away she goes. And it'll come down, and if I go to the isometric view, you can see there what it's doing now is going down to the first depth of cut, and there you go. You can't see much there, but yeah, you can see it. You can roughly see the pattern it's producing. I don't need any more of them at the moment, so there you go. That's actually going too fast. If I really speed it up, and there's a second cut, and off we go. And if I blow that up, you can see it's going to take 5 cuts, 4 main cuts and a finishing cut. And you can see it's doing fine there. And that's that one done, and then it will come down again. You can see here, there's the tool coming down, and bingo, and back round it goes. I don't need to tell you, you would never do it at this sort of speed, at this speed. Not if you wanted the tool to stay in one piece. The cutters I use are nearly all solid carbide. There's a few there. On the table here there's probably 200 or 300 quid's worth. They're not cheap, but they work well. And there's going around doing the 4th cut. And what we'll do, I'll show you the next phase of the program. So that would be I don't know why I said I was doing the body. This is just the sprocket, all the operations on the sprocket. It's not actually all of the operations, because the sprocket also has a hole in the centre, which I did using what they call conversational programming, which I'll show you as well. But there we go, it's coming around here. It's going to finish this last cut. And there it goes, it's finished that. So it'll come back up, and then it's going to ask me to put the drill in. Or it should do, which will be tool number 8 if I remember rightly. No, it's not. We'll click on that, and it's going to tell me insert tool 2, which is the drill. Right, so I'm going to say, yeah, we've got that in. And here you go, it's going to come down here and do 13 holes. And there you go. And you can see on here. And we'll take just looking at the tool there. I've used this to make all sorts of nice shapes, you know, some different sorts of shapes. I'll show you 1 or 2 things that I've done with it that you just would find extremely difficult with either a lathe or hand milling machine. And it's coming around. It's only got about another 4 to go. Here we go, 3 more. And that's the last hole, and there we go. And what happens, what it says G30 there, it's going to go back up to where it started from and finish the operation. And there we go, that's the end of that program. So there you can see, it's quite a nice sort of tool to have. What else we've got? Rocker boxes, stock removal, rocker box profile, bore cylinder. I mean, I've done a few cylinder bores on that. Rods, face. Oh, there we go. Face rod waste, Conrod sheet, Conrod roughing Mark II. Don't know what that. There you go. That's a Conrod being roughed out from a solid piece of metal. Quite I think that was a Humber Conrod, and it's now in that bike that you see, that you saw at the start. So that's some of the things. Plenty more, you know. I've done, as you can see, 1,000. Well, I wouldn't say thousands, but an awful lot. Sensor button, I don't know what that one is. Oh yeah, this was for my neighbour, I think. Yeah, I remember it now. There were about 1,300 of these things I had to make. Little buttons, round stainless. Okay, well, this is my Walco manual mill. I use this if I need to mill something and there's a job tied up on the CNC machine, I revert to this one. I don't do a great deal on it, but it still comes in handy. My son-in-law occasionally uses it for some of his jobs. It's not a bad machine, but it's not that accurate, unfortunately. And here we go around to this part of the workshop. And I'll say this part of the workshop. Here is my lathe, again a Walco product, Chinese, cheapest chips lathe, but by God, it's I can't fault it. It's got pretty good repeatability on a 3-jaw. You know, you can turn stuff around, and nearly every time it'll run concentric. You know, 3-jaw chucks are horrible for accuracy. For accurate work, you use a 4-jaw. Always set up a 4-jaw, center it, and off you go. But if you look at that bed of that lathe, look at the depth of the casting. It's so rigid. It's fabulous. It really is good for what it is. I've turned some big stuff in there. When you take this out of there, you get quite a big diameter in there, and it's generally quite good. I use it an awful lot. In fact, I don't use it an awful lot, I abuse it an awful lot, but it is good. One thing I have done to it is I've fitted variable speed drive to it, and here you can see an inverter. That's the inverter on the wall, that little grey box at the back, and you can run at pretty low speeds. Lovely for threading work, but it's very good. It's a nice lathe, I like it. The lathe I had prior to that was a Myford. Nothing wrong with a Myford. In fact, they're a damn good lathe, except that mine was getting very tired. I used to do some huge jobs on it, relatively speaking, and it's no wonder I had to get rid of it in the end. It had seen better days. But I'm still associated with Myford, because what I've got here is a Myford MG12 grinder. Now, this is a 3-phase machine, and it runs from an inverter, but because there's more than one motor on it, I thought I needed one of these, so we'll switch it on. It's quite noisy. there we go, that's the inverter running, and to start her up you hit that and hit that, and there you see, and of course with work in it you back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, back and forth across the face of the wheel. Once you get it set up, I mean, it's good. I don't know if you can see it, but there is movement there, but look how many times you're turning this handle for that small amount of movement. Okay, if we look on here, you will see a 0 and a 24. That represents 1/1000th of an inch. Those 10 divisions represent a 1/10 of a thou each, so that's 1/1000th of an inch, and one rotation of the handle is 25/1000ths of an inch advancement or a retraction of the wheel. However, it doesn't end there, because there is another setting which, believe it or not, the divisions on that wheel, one of them is 1/4 of 1/10 of 1/1000th of an inch, and it's so fine that you can't really measure it. Anyway, on the bench, a bottle of wine from watching the Feldon 3 last night. I had to keep myself hydrated, and there we have the German Sunbeam engine, 500, 1933 I think it is, or 34. He's been in contact with me. I finished this almost 2 years ago. He's been in contact with me. You must be worried I'm going to cark it with coronavirus, and he's going to send the rest of the bits over so I can put it together for him. And finally, machine wise, the old drill press. I got this one from Axminster Power Tools. It's absolutely rubbish, but it drills holes. You pay your money, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So that's here. And then this is the dirty end of the workshop and the clean end. I do all sorts in here that I shouldn't really. Down there is a furnace. Now I need somebody who knows all about electricity to get me some nichrome wire, and wire one of the elements is completely burnt out in it, and it's a great furnace for doing heat treatment. At the moment I've got my first homemade furnace outside, and I've got no real control over it. Down there's my end mill sharpener. This thing sharpens end mills, hence the name end mill sharpener. It only sharpens the ends, it doesn't sharpen the flutes. So it's good, and I do use it because it's quite, the results, it produces lovely sharp cutters, and you know, it's worth using for that. The drill sharpener you've seen in my other videos, that's it's a tool and cutter grinder of sorts. It's a Chinese copy of a Dekel. Well, it's a Taiwanese copy of a Dekel tool and cutter grinder, but it's for single point tools, things like engraving tools and so on. And really using it is like all of these things are a pain in the backside to set up, so you give up on it. That's my grinder stroke linisher. Do a lot of rough work on that. There's some artist brushes. I just use them for pissing about. I'm a piss artist really. As you can see on the bench, I've been using a bit of heat. That is not oxyacetylene. Acetylene's so damn expensive. I've gone over to oxypropane, and what a difference. Cheaper and just as good in my opinion. However, I haven't really, well, I've done a bit of silver soldering. They used to say, oh, you shouldn't use it for silver soldering because it's a dirtier flame, but I don't think it is. I don't think it makes any difference. And finally, what we've got, shelving everywhere with engines and gearboxes. There's another Humber. It's all Humber stuff. There's nothing else up here. There we go. Oh, there's a camping stove. Oh, John would be pleased to see that. I do use that now and again for doing cables.